Well, strange times, folks. You got a headline here on X. It says Joe Rogan says he's changed his position on UFOs and now believes something real is going on. He says the slow, bureaucratic drip of information actually adds credibility, and that David Grush, claiming firsthand knowledge, changed everything for him. So likely Rogan has been told by somebody in the know not to write this off before the really undeniable stuff comes out. And what undeniable stuff is that? Well, according to the New York Post headline earlier this morning, 4 species of aliens have been pulled from crashed UFOs. Ex-government researcher. Claim of an ex-government researcher. And then what I've been seeing from some other people who seem to be in the know is what we're going to be told is that various governments have crashed craft of unknown origin. And what troubles them, part of the reason why they've been hiding all this, apparently, this is just one person's claim, they've been hiding this because they're actually a little bit terrified of the fact they haven't been able to figure out how the UFOs work. They've tried to take them apart and reverse engineer them, and it's beyond our understanding. Which, as I was saying yesterday, is part of why it's so great that we got AI before this disclosure moment, before quote-unquote first contact, although obviously not first contact if the Apollo missions were seeing stuff and it was being actively covered up, not shown to the public or scientists outside of very closed circle. Only now do we know the truth. And somebody in the comments said, how come some of the photos are in color and some are in black and white? Well, I'm not the Department of War. That's their website, not mine. But just basic logic dictates that older files, back from when they used black and white photography, older files are going to be in black and white. Now, there are some color photos from the Apollo missions on the moon when they were using color photography. And so I don't see any strange cover up there. That's simply the development of film, how things went from black and white to mostly color. And certainly a weird vibe from some people in the comments. I'm just going to ignore that weird vibe. I don't really understand it. I don't know if it's a harassment attempt. Certainly I'm so busy that when somebody comes to me, as long as they come from a place of honesty and from a place of wanting to deliver great inbound value, offer me something of value, something I didn't know before, or an opportunity of some kind. And I don't see the opportunity there. It feels like harassment, even if the intentionality is good, coming to my channel constantly and saying, hey, why don't you cover the Epstein files when you can go through our videos? And we've spent a substantial amount of time going through the Epstein files, and then years before that, Pizzagate, to such an extent that some people credit me with coming up with the name Pizzagate. And yet, these people are saying, why don't you cover the pedophiles? I couldn't have covered it more. Again, I'm not sure if this is some weird harassment attempt or if these people genuinely don't remember who I am, which is fine. Just go back through the videos or the old articles on Substack. You know, why don't you cover the Epstein files? Why are you covering this UFO fraud? Well, again, they're saying more files are coming out. It sounds like what's ahead is undeniable. And already what we got is history shattering. Those images from the Apollo missions, in particular Apollo 17, what is that object above the lunar sky, the top right? What is that triangular craft that's babysitting our astronauts? It wasn't the Russians. The Chinese didn't even have a moon program at that point. What was that thing? That very clear triangle outlined by 3 bright lights, no known stars, no planets. What is that thing in the lunar sky? And the New York Times, they came out with an article talking about how the UFO files are disappointing, which should tell you all you need to know. If you have any fucking discernment at all, if the gray lady, the New York Times, tells you there's nothing there, that's a good sign there might be something there. And so they put this sad boomer on the article deciphering the UFO files. And she said it could be anything. Could be anything, whatever. It's just some weird Trump stuff. We're going to move on. Really? The triangular craft above the lunar horizon that shook the astronauts to the core of their being, and they couldn't even talk about it for 50 years? couldn't tell the public about it for 50 years, takes the Department of Defense, releasing the photos to restart the discussion. That could be anything. How about the 5 objects that Apollo 11 photographed? 5 distinct objects. They're not stars. They're not fragments of ice reflecting sunlight. Distinct large objects that look like they were built by someone or something. 5 objects. So what are they? Could be anything. Well, let's dig into it. This isn't like some debris on the sidewalk in New York City, New York Times lady. These are objects in the lunar sky that should not be there at all. And so happy to see Joe Rogan lose his cynicism on this one, because I don't understand people closing the book before we've even gotten the full novel. We don't even know yet. People are like, oh, I'm not interested. Oh, okay, you got such better stuff to work on? We want the Epstein files. Well, then where were you to support me for the years that I was talking about this, when I was driven off of the internet for 8 years for talking about Pizzagate and Jeffrey Epstein? Where were you losers back then? You were absolutely silent. And now that it's in vogue to talk about it like a frog and just say Epstein files, we got a lot of the Epstein files. No action was taken. Howard Lutnick should have resigned from the White House based on the mask that looks like him that was in the dental room at Epstein's Island, where they pulled the kids' teeth out so they couldn't bite the visitors to the island. Howard Lutnick should be so resigned. He should be so out of the White House. He should not be advising our president. He should not be standing behind our president. But you guys didn't speak up. You're a bunch of pussies. So don't tell me cover the Epstein files when we have some of the most thorough coverage on YouTube, and you can just go back through my history. But yeah, to say you can't talk about the UFO stuff, you have to cover the Epstein stuff 24/7. Says who? You're just people. And certainly I'm so busy that if you come into my life and you offer something of great value, something I didn't know before, something that's exciting to me, I'm going to take you seriously. But if you just seem like some bizarre harassment campaign or some completely low information idiot who became a truther yesterday, and you're asking me to cover stuff that I literally pioneered, so weird, so bizarre, don't know what to make of it, but we'll put it out there, and we certainly won't be intimidated by that. Yeah, incredible week for Cerebras, this chip maker that IPO'd. So they do the chips that run some of ChatGPT, I understand. They have a deal with OpenAI. So I think they run some of ChatGPT and perhaps some other large AI frontier models. But point is, this is a company that was private and that I was kind of jealous of because these Silicon Valley insiders are buying it up. And they're making all these deals and stuff, and we can't get into it. The public can't get in. And this past week, they IPO. It was the biggest IPO of the year, and we were able to get some shares in time. So that, to me, is exciting, that now Americans have real access to the AI industry, and not just indirect bets. Like if you buy Intel or Microsoft, sure, they have exposure to AI, and Intel is working on, I understand, some GPUs that are AI-focused, sort of pivoting more toward competing with NVIDIA and some wafer technology that I guess is a competition attempt to stay relevant as companies like Cerebras come along with large wafer designs instead of small chips, large wafers. And so again, companies like Intel and Microsoft, in my opinion, you're buying the whole basket. Microsoft does a lot of boring stuff that has nothing to do with AI. Same with Intel and AMD. They do a lot of traditional chips that are simply running operating systems and running workstations and have nothing to do with artificial intelligence. Here you've got a thoroughbred chip maker that's focused on AI. Thoroughbred in the sense that they're only focused on AI. They're not focused on a whole bunch of different things. So that was exciting to me. And just following the chips overall has been quite a journey. The way that I followed crypto back in the day, I now follow AI hardware because, as I said on yesterday's show, I don't see this as a gold rush, but I see it as an oil rush. The oil is under the ground, and the problem is one of extraction. We don't have enough oil wells, and we don't have enough refineries to turn that crude that we pump out, to turn that crude into diesel, jet fuel, and other products you can actually sell, automobile gasoline. So gasoline, jet fuel, and diesel are the outputs from a refinery. And in much the same way, we need processing capability because the AI models are incredible. We have Star Trek Commander Data level large language models that operate at an Einstein level of intelligence in almost any human domain of knowledge and give you an instant reply and can do reasoning about 60 million times faster than a human brain. They can reason through things and show you their chain of thought. Very incredible breakthrough for computer science. But we don't have the capacity yet to run all of it. In terms of training the new models, that's very intensive. You got to use a whole bunch of strung together GPUs, basically, a whole bunch of NVIDIA Hoppers or Blackwells. You tie them all together. But the interconnect, you lose a lot of efficiency there. Obviously, when you're tying together thousands of discrete units, there's a lot of hopping around that occurs. Whereas these large wafers are an attempt at a new architecture. So that's the stuff I focus on. And I feel like when people are weirdly gaslighting me in the comments and saying, hey, why don't you cover the Epstein files? When I spent months talking about it and those videos and podcasts are still up and easily accessible. And when people are saying the UFO files are fake, I have no evidence that they're fake. I'm going to cover it because it's of interest to me, and people who are offended by that can go somewhere else. But I'm certainly not going to be told what to talk about on my own channel and on my own podcast when it took me so many years to get this platform back and to earn your trust after being unable to be found on a lot of these platforms for years because I was talking about Epstein. So there's something dishonest about that, something unkind and something dishonest. But I hope it's just misinformed rather than malicious. Most things in life are just people who don't know what they're talking about. It's not people trying to hurt you. But certainly as a person who makes my money from pattern recognition, from finding the right chip hardwares and the right software before other people, that's what I do for a living. It messes with my pattern recognition when people I don't know are saying things that are so out of bounds. Like, why shouldn't we focus on these UFO files? Again, people being all angry at me. How come some of the files are in black and white, semen? Hey, why don't you ask the government? They released it, not me. Why would you act like I have any say in that? I'm just a little YouTuber, just a little guy doing my thing. But yeah, it's been an exciting year for the AI industry. And outside of this, I don't see a lot to be hopeful about. Certainly, it seems like society has gotten less fun. The golden age, it seems like the airports are kind of unusable and everything has gotten less efficient, and the food everywhere has gone down in quality, and it seems like people are demotivated and weird. A lot of people are just demotivated and weird. And certainly I don't like or understand people reading into me in a way that's not there. Like saying that I took all the vaccines, you took all the shots. It's like, actually I didn't. Actually, I was very much ostracized from some of my social group at the time for not taking the shot. I caught it, I recovered after gaining natural immunity, or so they told us. I didn't see the need to get the shot. So to say that I'm some big vaccine guy shows you don't really know a fucking thing about me. And again, to say, why don't I cover Epstein when it literally sidelined my life and took away a lot of my platforms talking about that stuff? Something there feels a little disingenuous, if not, malicious. But again, I have to assume it's just people who don't know. So that's why I'm explaining myself here, is if you follow this show, or if you follow me on YouTube, to say I don't care about these topics, I very much care. But we're not in the pandemic right now. We're in the UFO files disclosure. So if you want to debate things from 2021, that's fine, but let's also focus on what's happening in summer 2026. Thank you guys so much. Links in description below to my books on Amazon. Now it's time to find out who I am. I didn't realize so many people have this image of me that's completely malformed. But as a person who's put out, time-stamped works for years, like my book I put out in 2012 about how to set up a Bitcoin wallet and how to accept Bitcoin payments, that timestamp shows you that I'm not some entryist, not somebody who's pretending I was in Bitcoin. I was actually in Bitcoin. And my books about AI, when I was one of the first users of ChatGPT, one of their beta users, and the pandemic, when I was just sitting there with nothing to do, I wrote about that stuff. And you can read my early thoughts on it. And I predicted how big large language models would quickly become. And this is before Google Gemini was even a thing. This is before Grok existed, Elon Musk's Grok. And I was saying, just based on being an early user of ChatGPT, this is going to be a major shift imminently in technology. And it turned out to be correct. So people, again, can go back and see who I actually am and who I actually was. And I'm, again, open to discourse when it comes from a place of wanting to deliver value, because I feel like I'm giving my best to the audience, giving you guys my best research, giving you my time when I'm actually quite busy with my startup, and I'm responding to people. I'm trying to give you my best. And so, again, to make me out to be something I'm not, and to send me screenshots of my Wikipedia page from 10 years ago, which I think is a joke. You read that Wikipedia page, you see that some liberal weirdo close to the human trafficking scandal tried to make me out to be something I'm not. And to mention all these irrelevant details of my past, how about mention I was one of the first Bitcoin users? How about mention I was one of the beta users of ChatGPT? How about mentioning I was one of the first marketing people, if not the first marketing person in North America for Ethereum? How about mentioning that I'm not the idiot these people in the comments, for some reason, are so convinced I am? But thank you guys so much. Happy weekend. And again, misplaced cynicism on the UFO files. What are you folks doing that's so much more important? I'm not telling you to drop anything that you're doing. I'm just saying, why close the door on this when they've assured us much more shocking stuff is about to come out? And what's already come out is quietly earth-shattering. Again, to rewrite the Apollo and Gemini missions, they happen to see a bunch of unknown craft in the sky. But let's just leave that out. Quote, could be anything, according to the New York Times. A lack of intellectual curiosity that I don't really understand. And certainly it's good to see Joe Rogan wake up on this one. He built his podcast talking about aliens, pedophiles, and Bigfoot. And now you got one of those things. Focus. Thank you, guys.